The space station never slept. Thousands of beings moved through its metal corridors at every hour. Some came to trade. Some came to find work. Some came because they had nowhere else to go. Station Orion 7 floated in the darkness between two star systems. It was old and large, built by species who had traveled the stars for thousands of years before humans ever looked up at the night sky. The walls were gray and worn. The air smelled of recycled oxygen and strange alien foods. Lights flickered in the lower levels, where the poor and forgotten made their homes. Vela pressed her back against the cold wall and tried to make herself small. She was 12 years old, or close to it by the way humans counted time. Her skin was pale blue, like the sky of a world she had never seen. Her hair was silver white and hung in dirty tangles around her thin face. Her eyes were large and round, meant to glow with soft light, but now they were dim and tired. She was Kirini. Her people had no home. Their planet had died 400 years ago, burned by a dying sun. Since then, the Kirini wandered from station to station, system to system, always moving, never welcome. They were refugees forever. Vela clutched her side where pain burned like fire. 3 days ago, she had fallen while searching for food in a garbage area. A sharp piece of metal had cut deep into her flesh. She had wrapped it with torn cloth, but the wound had grown worse. Dark fluid leaked through her fingers. The skin around the cut had turned black and smelled bad. She needed medicine. She needed a doctor. But the Kirini had no money and no friends. When she had tried to enter the medical center, the guards had pushed her away. When she had begged passing doctors for help, they had looked through her like she was made of glass. Nobody saw her. Nobody wanted to see her. So Vela sat in her dark corner and waited to die. The station was busy tonight. A trade ship had arrived from the inner systems, bringing merchants and travelers with full pockets. They walked past her hiding spot without a glance. A tall insect-like creature stepped over her legs like she was garbage. A group of furry beings laughed at some joke and did not notice the dying girl in the shadows. Vela closed her eyes. She thought about her mother, who had died 2 years ago from a sickness that medicine could have cured. She thought about her father, who had disappeared on a workship and never returned. She thought about the stories the elders told, about the beautiful world they had lost, with its purple forests and singing rivers. She would never see any of it. She would die here, alone, in a corner that smelled of oil and decay. Then she heard footsteps. Different footsteps. They were coming toward her, not past her. Vala opened her eyes. A human woman stood looking down at her. Humans were strange creatures. They had soft skin in shades of brown and pink. They had small eyes and flat faces and hair that grew in many colors. They were new to the galaxy, having only traveled the stars for 200 years. Most other species thought they were primitive and unimportant. This human woman had a kind face. Her skin was warm brown, her hair black and pulled back in a simple style. She wore a uniform with medical symbols on the shoulder. Her eyes were dark and soft, and they looked directly at Vela, not through her. At her. "Hey," the woman said. Her voice was gentle. "Can you understand me?" Vela did not answer. She had learned that answering only brought trouble. When you answered, they told you to move. When you answered, they called security. It was better to stay silent and hope they went away. But this woman did not go away. She crouched down, bringing herself to Viola's level. She moved slowly, like someone approaching a scared animal. "I am a medic," the woman said. "My name is Yuna Park. I help sick people." "You look sick." Vela stared at her. No one had introduced themselves to her in months. No one had spoken to her like she was a real person. Yuna pointed at Vela's side, where blood seeped through her fingers. "That wound is infected. I can see it from here. If you do not get treatment, you will die." Maybe in a day. Maybe two. Vila knew this. She had accepted it. But something in this human's voice made her speak for the first time in days. No one will help me, Vila whispered. Her voice was rough and broken. I am Kirani. We have no money. The medical center turned me away. Yuna's expression changed. Her soft eyes became hard. Her gentle mouth pressed into a thin line. Vela had seen that look before on the faces of station guards and merchants. It was the look people made before they said no. But Yuna did not say no. That is wrong, Yuna said simply. You are a child. You are hurt. Someone should help you, but they will not, Vela said. Then I will. Vela did not understand. She searched the human's face for lies or tricks. Everyone wanted something. Everyone had a price. What did this stranger want from her? Why? Vela asked. Why? Yuna smiled. It was a small smile, a little sad, but real. Because I am a medic. This is what I do. Can you stand? Vela tried. Her legs shook. The world spun around her. She had not eaten in 2 days, and the infection had made her weak. She fell forward, and Yuna caught her. The human's arms were strong and warm. Vela could not remember the last time anyone had held her. Since her mother died, she had been alone. Touched by no one. Cared for by no one. Okay, Yuna said. I will carry you. Put your arms around my neck. Yes, like that. Good. Yuna lifted her easily. Vela weighed almost nothing now. She was just bones and skin and fading hope. As they moved through the corridor, other beings stopped and stared. A Kirani child in the arms of a human medic. It was strange. It was wrong. It broke the unwritten rules that kept the station running. Vila heard whispers in languages she did not understand. She saw faces twist with confusion and disapproval. But Yuna did not stop. She did not look at them. She just kept walking, holding Vela close, carrying her away from the dark corner where she had waited to die. Where are we going? Vela asked. Somewhere safe, Yuna answered. Somewhere I can help you. Vela wanted to believe her. She wanted to believe that someone in this cold galaxy could care about a forgotten girl with no money, and no name, and no future. But she had stopped believing in kindness long ago. She closed her eyes and let the human carry her into the unknown. Yuna's room was small and simple. 2 beds, 2 lockers, 1 desk, 1 window that looked out at the stars. It was a military room designed for function, not comfort. But to Vila, it felt like a palace. The human woman laid her gently on one of the beds. The mattress was soft. The blanket was warm. Vila could not remember sleeping on anything but cold floors and hard corners. Stay still, Yuna said. I need to look at your wound. Vila watched as Yuna pulled out a medical kit from her locker. The human's hands were quick and sure. She had done this many times before. She cut away the dirty cloth around Vala's wound and examined the damage. Her face became serious. This is bad. The infection has spread deep. I need medicine that works for your species. Yuna pulled out a small communication device and pressed some buttons. She spoke to someone Vila could not see. This is Corporal Park. I have a medical emergency. A Kirani child with severe infection. I need access to xenobiology medications from the station medical center. A cold voice answered. What is the patient's registration number? She does not have one. She is a refugee. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again, flat and uncaring. Kirani refugees are not covered under station medical provisions. Payment or sponsorship is required for treatment. Yuna gripped the device tighter. She is a child. She will die without treatment. That is unfortunate. However, Station resources cannot be allocated without proper authorization. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Yuna did not answer. She ended the call and stood very still for a long moment. Her hands were shaking. Vela could not tell if it was from anger or something else. The door to the room opened. A man walked in. He was also human, tall and thin, with tired eyes and messy black hair. He wore the same uniform as Yuna, but with different symbols on his shoulder. He stopped when he saw Vela on the bed. "Yuna," he said slowly. "What is this?" "Her name is Vela. She is dying. I am going to save her." The man rubbed his face with both hands. He looked at the ceiling like he was asking the universe for patience. "I was gone for 30 minutes, he said. 30 minutes and you bring home a dying alien child. Doyen, I could not leave her there." The man, Doyen, looked at Vela. His expression was complicated. Vela tried to read it but could not. Humans were hard to understand. Their faces showed so many things at once. The medical center refused to help? Do-hyun asked. "Yes. And you are going to treat her yourself?" "Yes. With human medicine? On a species you have never treated before." Yuna sat down at the desk and began typing on a computer. "I will figure it out. The station database has information on Kirini biology. I will adapt what I have." Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed, a deep and heavy sound. "What do you need?" Yuna looked up at him. Something passed between them, a silent conversation that Vela did not understand. "Antibiotics from the medical supply. The broad-spectrum ones. Also pain medication and clean bandages. And I need you to keep security away from this room. That is against at least 5 regulations," Do-hyun said. "I know. You could lose your rank. You could be sent back to Earth. I know." Do-hyun looked at Vela again. She looked back at him, too weak to be afraid. She was just a small girl on a big bed, waiting to see what these strange humans would decide. "She is just a kid," Do-hyun said quietly. "Yes," he nodded once. "I will get the supplies. Do not do anything stupid until I get back." He left the room. Yuna returned to her computer, reading quickly, taking notes. Vela watched her work. "Why are you doing this?" Vela asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Yuna did not stop reading. "I told you. I am a medic. But you could get in trouble. That man said so." Yuna turned to look at her. In the soft light of the room, her face looked younger somehow, sadder. "My grandmother was a refugee once," Yuna said. "A long time ago on Earth. There was a war in her country. She had to leave everything behind. She was young, like you. And someone helped her when no one else would. A stranger who had no reason to care." Vela listened. She never forgot that person. She talked about them until the day she died. She told me that kindness is like a seed. You plant it and it grows. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes generations. But it always grows. Yuna turned back to her computer. "I am planting a seed. That is all." Do-hyun returned with a bag full of supplies. He and Yuna worked together through the long night. They cleaned Vela's wound. They gave her medicine to fight the infection. They wrapped her in fresh bandages and made sure she drank water. The pain was terrible at first. Vela cried out when they touched the wound. But Yuna held her hand and spoke soft words, and Do-hyun made gentle jokes to distract her. "You know," Do-hyun said, "when I signed up for space duty, they told me I would see amazing things. Alien worlds. Distant stars. They did not mention illegal surgery on Kirini children." "This is not surgery," Yuna said. "It is basic wound care. Tell that to the regulations." Vela almost laughed. It surprised her. She had forgotten what laughing felt like. The hours passed. The station grew quiet around them. Through the window, Vela watched the stars turn slowly as the station rotated. Near morning, her fever broke. The medicine was working. She was weak and tired, but the fire in her side had cooled. The darkness was retreating. She was going to live. Una sat beside her bed, exhausted. There were dark circles under her eyes. She had not slept at all. "Thank you," Vela said. Una smiled her small, sad smile. "Rest now. You need to heal. Will you be here when I wake up?" "Yes, I promise." Vela closed her eyes. For the first time in years, she felt safe. The universe was still cold and dark and full of people who did not care. But in this small room, with these strange humans, she had found something she thought was lost forever. Hope. News traveled fast on a space station. There were no secrets in a place where everyone watched everyone else. Within 2 days, the whole station knew about the human medic and the Kareni girl. The story spread through the lower levels first, whispered, among refugees and workers and those who lived in the shadows. A human had saved a dying child. A human had broken the rules for someone she did not know. To the poor and forgotten, it was a miracle. To the powerful, it was a problem. Administrator Gorvex sat behind his massive desk and stared at the report on his screen. He was Theshan, a species that had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 10,000 years. He had 4 arms, gray skin covered in fine scales, and 2 sets of eyes. One pair looked forward at the world. The other pair looked to the sides, watching for danger. All 4 eyes were focused on the image of Corporal Una Park. "Bring her to me," he said. Una stood before the administrator's desk, her hands behind her back, her face calm. She had expected this meeting. She had prepared for it. Gorvex did not invite her to sit. He studied her for a long moment with all 4 eyes. "You have created a problem," he said. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "I saved a life," Una replied. "You saved a Kareni life, a refugee. A species with no political value, no economic power, no allies. She is a child." Gorvex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Children die every day on this station. Kareni children, Valoran children, children from a dozen species I cannot name. The galaxy is cruel, human. This is the way things are." Una did not look away. Just because something is the way things are does not mean it is right. Gorvex leaned forward. His secondary eyes narrowed. "You humans have been in space for 200 years. My species was building stations like this one when your ancestors were living in caves. Do not lecture me about right and wrong." "Then teach me," Una said. "Explain to me why a child should die when medicine exists to save her. Explain to me why we have rules that protect cargo and credits, but not lives." The administrator was silent. In his long career, few had spoken to him this way. Certainly no human. "You are either very brave or very stupid," Gorvex said finally. "My commanding officer says both," Una replied. For a moment, something flickered across Gorvex's face. It might have been amusement. It disappeared quickly. "The station council is unhappy," he said. "By treating this child, you suggest that we have failed in our duty. You make us look cruel." "I did not make you look anything. I simply did what no one else would do. And that is the problem." Gorvex stood and walked to his window. Outside, ships moved slowly through the darkness, coming and going from the station's many ports. If one human saves one Kareni child, others will expect the same treatment. Soon we will have refugees, lining up at the medical center, demanding care they cannot pay for. The system will collapse. Or, Una said quietly, the system will change. Gorvex turned to look at her. "You think you can change the galaxy?" "I think kindness can." "Yes." The meeting ended without resolution. Gorvex did not punish Una. but he did not support her either. He sent her away with a warning. Do not cause more trouble. But the trouble had already begun. Back in the human section of the station, Vela was recovering quickly. The infection was gone. Color had returned to her pale blue skin. Her eyes were beginning to glow again, soft and warm like distant stars. Other humans came to see her. They brought food and blankets and small gifts. Private Jun Choi, a young soldier with a bright smile, taught Vela how to play card games. She was only 20 years old, not much older than a child herself, and she treated Vela like a little sister. This game is called Ghost Stop, June explained, spreading cards on the bed. My grandmother taught me. It is very old. You try to match the pictures. Vela did not understand the rules, but she liked the painted cards. They showed flowers and animals and scenes from a world called Earth. A world with blue skies and green trees and water that fell from the clouds. Is Earth beautiful? Vela asked. Geun thought about it. Sometimes it has problems, like everywhere else. But yes, it can be beautiful. I would like to see it someday. Maybe you will. Lieutenant Sun Ho Kang was different from the others. He was the commander of the human detachment, a serious man with a hard face and gray hair at his temples. He said little and showed less. But Vela noticed that her food always arrived on time, that the room was always warm, that security never came to ask questions. One evening, she saw him talking with Yuna in the corridor. Their voices were low. Command wants to know why you missed 3 training sessions, Sunho said. I was busy. With the Karenni girl? Yes. Sunho was quiet for a moment. I have adjusted the schedule. You will not miss any more sessions. Yuna looked at him with surprise. Sir, the girl needs care. You are the most qualified to provide it. This is an efficient use of resources. He walked away before Yuna could thank him. 1 week after her rescue, Vala was strong enough to walk. Yuna took her to the window and showed her the stars. Do you know which one is Earth? Yuna asked. Vela shook her head. Neither do I. It is very far away. But somewhere out there, it is spinning around its sun, full of people living their lives. And here we are, in the middle of nothing, looking at the same stars. Vela pressed her hand against the cold glass. The elders say that stars are the eyes of the ancestors. They watch over us. That is beautiful. But I think they are wrong, Vela said. If the ancestors were watching, they would have helped us long ago. They would not let children die in dark corners. Yuna put her hand on Vela's shoulder. Maybe the ancestors work through people. Maybe they sent me to that corridor at the right time. Vela looked up at her. Do you believe that? Yuna smiled. I do not know, but I believe that we should help each other. I believe that kindness matters. And I believe that you are going to do great things someday, Vela. Vela did not know how to respond. No one had ever told her she would do great things. No one had ever looked at her and seen anything but a burden. What if I cannot? She whispered. Then you try anyway, Yuna said. That is what humans do. We try, even when we might fail. Especially when we might fail. Outside the window, the stars burned cold and eternal. They had watched civilizations rise and fall. They had seen kindness and cruelty, hope and despair. They did not judge. They did not care. But in the small room, a human and a Kirini child stood together, and for a moment, the universe felt a little less cold. The message came at night. A small Kirini boy appeared at Yuna's door. Too young to be afraid of humans. Too young to understand the politics of species and power. The elders want to see you, he said in broken common tongue. Please come. Yuna looked at Do-Yun, who shrugged. It is probably a trap, he said without much worry. The Kirini have never trapped anyone. There is a first time for everything. But Yuna went anyway. She followed the boy through the winding corridors of the station. down into the lower levels where the lights flickered and the walls were stained with age. This was where the refugees lived, in the forgotten spaces that no one else wanted. The Kirani section was a large cargo bay that had been converted into a home. Hundreds of people lived there, families crowded together in small spaces marked by hanging cloths and salvaged furniture. Children ran between the makeshift homes, their laughter echoing off the metal walls. Old people sat in groups, talking in their own language, their eyes carrying memories of a world that no longer existed. Everyone stopped when Yuna entered. They stared at her with those large, glowing eyes. She felt their attention like weight on her shoulders. A path opened before her, leading to the center of the bay where a group of elders sat on cushions. They were ancient, their blue skin faded to pale gray, their hair white as snow. But their eyes still held light, still held life. One elder rose to greet her. It was a woman, small and bent with age, but her presence filled the room. She walked with slow dignity, each step careful and deliberate. "I am Moran," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "I speak for the elders. You are Yuna Park. You saved the child Vila." Yuna nodded. "I am a medic. It is my duty to help the sick." Moran smiled. It was a sad smile, the smile of someone who had seen too much of the galaxy's cruelty. "We have wandered the stars for 400 years, she said. "In that time, we have met many species. Some have tolerated us. Some have used us. Some have driven us away with weapons and hate. But none have helped us without asking for something in return." She reached out and took Yuna's hand. Her fingers were thin and cool. Until now, Yuna did not know what to say. She felt uncomfortable with the attention, with the weight of all those eyes upon her. "I did not do anything special," she said. "I just did what was right. That is exactly what makes it special." Moran turned to the gathered crowd. This human saw a dying child and did not look away. She risked her position, her career, her future. She asked for nothing. She expected nothing. She simply helped. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Yuna saw faces wet with tears. She saw old people nodding slowly, young people standing straighter. "The Kirini remember," Moran continued. "This is our greatest gift and our heaviest burden. We remember every kindness and every cruelty. We pass these memories to our children, and they pass them to their children. Nothing is forgotten." She raised her voice so all could hear. "Today, we add a new memory to our history. The name of Yuna Park, the name of Dohim Lee, who helped her. The names of Jun Choi and Sunho Kang and every human who showed kindness to our child. These names will be spoken for generations. They will be sung in our songs and told in our stories." The crowd began to hum, a low sound that rose and fell like waves. It was music without words, ancient and beautiful. "We have a promise," Moran said to Yuna. "It is the oldest promise of our people. We made it when we left our dying world, and we have kept it through all our years of wandering." She spoke the words slowly, carefully, like a prayer. "When we find our new home, when we rebuild what was lost, when our children's children walk under a new sun, we will remember those who helped us. They will be welcome at our tables. Their families will be our families. Their enemies will be our enemies. This is the Kirini promise." She looked into Yuna's eyes. "Your children's children will be welcome in our home, Yuna Park. This we swear." Yuna felt tears on her cheeks. She had not expected this. She had saved one child, broken a few rules, lost a little sleep. It seemed like such a small thing, but to the Kirani, it was everything. "I do not know what to say," she managed. "You do not need to say anything. Just keep being who you are. The galaxy needs more humans like you." The meeting ended with food and drink and music. The Kirini sang their old songs, and some of the younger ones tried to teach Yuna to dance. She was terrible at it, stepping on feet and moving in the wrong direction. But everyone laughed and nobody cared. For one night, in a forgotten corner of a space station, two species came together as friends. Word of the meeting spread quickly. Other species heard about the Kirini promise. They heard about the ancient vow made to a human medic. And they began to think, the Kirini were poor and powerless now. But they were also brilliant engineers and scientists and artists. They had survived 400 years of wandering through skill and wisdom. If they ever found a new home, if they ever rebuilt their civilization, they would be a valuable ally. And they had just declared humanity their eternal friends. Administrator Gorvex received reports from his advisors. The political situation was shifting. Other species were looking at humans differently now. Not as primitive newcomers, but as something unexpected. Something that did not fit the old patterns. What do we do? One advisor asked. Gorvex stared at the reports for a long time. Nothing, he said finally. We watch and we wait. This is only one human, one child, one promise. It means nothing. But in his heart, he was not so sure. He had lived for 300 years and had seen empires rise and fall. He knew that great changes often began with small acts. A human medic had saved a Kirini child. Perhaps it meant nothing, or perhaps the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months passed like water through open fingers. Vela grew stronger every day. She lived in the human section now, sleeping in a small room next to Yuna's quarters. The Earth Coalition had not officially adopted her, but nobody asked questions anymore. She was simply there, part of the crew. Accepted without ceremony. She learned to speak Korean from Yuna, stumbling over the sounds at first, then growing more confident. She learned English from June, who was patient and kind and never laughed at her mistakes. She learned to play chess from Daeyeon, though she was still terrible at it. You moved your knight into danger again, Dohyun said, shaking his head. The horse piece is confusing, Vela complained. It moves in strange shapes. That is what makes it powerful. The knight can jump over other pieces. It can attack from unexpected directions. Vela frowned at the board. Like humans? Dohyun looked at her with surprise. What do you mean? The other species in the galaxy are like the straight pieces. They move in ways everyone expects. But humans are like knights. You jump over the rules. You come from directions no one predicts. Dohyun laughed, a real laugh that warmed his tired eyes. That is the best description of humanity I've ever heard. I am going to tell Yuna. The relationship between humans and Kirini deepened quickly. When a Kirini training ship was attacked by pirates near the station, a human patrol ship was first to respond. They drove off the attackers and escorted the damaged vessel to safety. The captain of the Kirini ship was Elder Moran's grandson. He could not stop thanking the human crew. When human colonists on a distant moon faced a mysterious disease, Kirini scientists arrived with medicine. They had faced similar illnesses in their long wandering and knew how to treat them. The colonists survived. They named their new settlement New Seoul and invited the Kirini to live among them. Small acts became big changes. Trust grew like a plant towards sunlight. Administrator Gorvex watched it all from his office. His advisors brought him reports every day. The Kirini-Human alliance was growing. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges began. Young Kirini learned human languages. Young humans studied Kirini engineering. This is dangerous, one advisor said. Two minor species joining together. They could challenge the established order. They are still weak, another said. The Kirini are refugees. The humans are newcomers. Together, they are still nothing compared to the great powers. Gorvex said nothing. He remembered his meeting with Yuna Park. He remembered the way she had looked at him, unafraid, certain that she was right. Perhaps she had been right. The order came from Earth. Command. Yuna was promoted to sergeant and assigned to a new posting. A research station in a distant system, where humanity was making first contact with a newly discovered species. They needed someone who understood alien cultures. Someone who could build bridges instead of walls. On her last day at Station Orion 7, the entire Karani community came to see her off. They gathered in the main departure hall. Hundreds of them, filling the space with blue skin and silver hair and glowing eyes. They sang as she entered, an ancient song modified with new words. Human words. Korean words. Vila stood at the front of the crowd. She was taller now, healthier, her eyes bright with the light that Kirani were meant to have. She wore a simple dress made by Kirani weavers and a pendant of earth jade that Yuna had given her. "You are really leaving," Vila said. "I have to," Yuna replied. "But this is not goodbye. The galaxy is smaller than it looks. What if I never see you again?" Yuna knelt down to look Vila in the eyes. "Listen to me. 6 months ago, you were dying in a dark corner. Now look at you. You speak 3 languages. You have friends. You have family. You have a future. Nothing can take that away from you. But I only have those things because of you." "No." Yuna shook her head firmly. "You have those things because you survived. Because you kept fighting when anyone else would have given up. I just gave you a chance. You did the rest." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small book. It was old, with worn covers and yellowed pages. "This belonged to my grandmother," Yuna said. "It is a book of stories. She read it to me when I was your age. I want you to have it." Vila took the book carefully, like it was made of glass. "But this is precious to you. That is why I want you to have it. So that part of me stays with you, even when I am far away." Vila began to cry. She could not help it. The tears came like rain, and she did not try to stop them. Yuna pulled her into a hug. Around them, the Kirani watched in silence. This was a moment they would remember. This was a moment they would tell their children. "Be brave," Yuna whispered. "Be kind. Plant seeds wherever you go. And remember that you are never alone. You have an entire species of humans who think of you as family now." "I love you," Vila said. It was the first time she had said those words since her mother died. "I love you too. My strange, stubborn, wonderful daughter." Yuna released her and stood. She looked at the gathered Karini, at Do-hyun and Jun and Sunho, who stood nearby, at the station that had been her home for 2 years. "Thank you," she said to everyone and no one. "For everything." She walked to the departure gate. The crowd parted before her, and hands reached out to touch her as she passed. Blessings in the Karini way. Good wishes for safe travels dotted the gate. She turned one last time. Vila stood where she had left her, clutching the old book. Tears still wet on her blue cheeks. Yuna raised her, hand in farewell. Then she was gone. Administrator Gorvex watched the departure from his office window. He saw the human woman board her transport. He saw the ship pull away from the station and disappear into the darkness between stars. He thought about what she had said in his office months ago. That kindness could change the galaxy. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps a single act of compassion could start a chain of events that no one could predict. Perhaps the old ways were ending and something new was beginning. Or perhaps it was all just sentiment. Perhaps the galaxy would remain as it had always been, cold and hard and ruled by power. Gorvex did not know. He was old, but the future was older still. It kept its secrets. In the departure hall, Vela opened the book Yuna had given her. The pages were filled with words she could not read, but there were pictures too. A girl in a red hood walking through a dark forest. A mermaid sitting on a rock by the sea. A beast who learned to love. Human stories. Strange and beautiful and full of hope. Viola closed the book and held it against her heart. Somewhere out there, among the endless stars, Yuna was traveling toward a new adventure. And here on the station, Viola would build a new life. They were both planting seeds now. And someday, those seeds would grow into a forest that covered the galaxy.